Hello everyone and welcome back to Angie's Table. Yeah, I just showered so my hair is like... Today I wanted to do a slightly different video. I did see on TikTok that foods that I got bullied for eating was a super popular trend right now. So I wanted to do that on YouTube because I feel like with TikTok, everything is so short and to the point. I feel like I can't really relate my personal experiences as well as I can through YouTube. So I wanted to incorporate some videos so that you guys could get to know me at a personal level. So I do have 5 foods that I wanted to go through with you guys that I can think of like for sure that I felt either bullied or embarrassed to eat or take to school. We'll start off with kimchi, but I wanted to give you guys some background info to this. So my mom came to the States when she was 6 months pregnant with me. She was married to my dad in Korea, and then he came here first. And then when she was 6 months pregnant with me, she flew to the States to live here permanently. So my mom was new at being married, being a wife, being away from her family, pregnant, being a mom, and taking care of Grace and I. So she was just new with a lot of things, and I know that she was not accustomed to the culture here. Even though she thought she knew, she probably wasn't fully aware, especially with me and Grace being a minority in school. I'm very grateful that she would pack us lunches until she got busy with her business. She just packed like whatever I would eat for lunch normally at home. I didn't like sandwiches or anything like American. I just really like Korean. So then she would just pack rice and banchan, and I really like kimchi as a kid, and it's really weird because I know that kids don't really like kimchi growing up. I mean, number one, it's really spicy, but I did. She packed me the smallest amount. She was aware that kimchi smells bad, but she thought like, oh, maybe this amount is okay because I really like kimchi. I told her I didn't want to take it, but she's like, no, I think it's gonna be okay. So before I even opened my lunchbox, everyone is like, oh, what is that smell? And everyone was asking me what it was that was so smelly. So I remember that day I didn't even open my lunchbox and I just took it right back home. I went to my mom crying. So no one actually made fun of me, but it was just those small comments that were very hurtful to me as a kid. So I just didn't eat lunch that day, and I told her to never pack it for me again. And moving on to number 2, it's kimbap. I think I've said it, I don't know how many times on her channel, but she is the best at making kimbap. I don't know if the reason that I don't like kimbap now as much is because I ate it so much growing up, or if it was because I was so embarrassed to eat it growing up as a child when she would pack it for me. So kimbap, I don't think it really smells that bad, but it's the radish in there that I think that makes it smell bad, because I don't think anything else in there is very like foreign. So yeah, I think it's the radish that doesn't make the smell so pleasant. The moment I said I'm not taking kimchi, the next thing she packed me was kimbap. And then obviously all the intention's on me now, right? Because I brought kimchi the other day. They're like, oh, what do you have for lunch today? So I opened it and it was kimbap, and it did smell a little, but everyone was so intrigued by how it looked because it is very new if you see it for the first time, especially when sushi wasn't so big back then. I remember just like all the attention being on me, and then after that day I was like, I don't want kimbap either. I really don't want it. I guess I really wasn't bullied for it, but I did receive a lot of comments that were very judging and basically just made me very ashamed of my culture and very ashamed of what my mom was making me for lunch. The next thing I want to talk about is mandu. So in kindergarten, she would pack me mandu, otherwise known as dumplings or pot stickers, and she steamed it for me, and then she added a little sauce thing of soy sauce. And that soy sauce spilled all over my lunchbox, and it smelled really bad. When I opened the mandu, it also doesn't smell so great. I thought it would be okay. I thought mandu would be okay, but you know, sometimes when you make something at home and then you keep it covered and then when you open it, you're like, oh, I've realized that mandu doesn't smell so great either. I think people did know what mandu or dumplings were, but it was just like, again, all the attention on me. So I was just like, please, I just don't really want Asian foods. But moving on to elementary school, she continues. She made me fried rice. Luckily, she did not make me kimchi fried rice, although I am having B-rolls of our K-Bike BBQ party that we had at my mom's house last night. I don't know why I'm adding it, but I thought it looked really good, so I wanted to share some of these B-rolls with you guys. My mom used to make me fried rice with a lot of vegetables and some sausage. And I think the only seasoning she added was just salt, sesame oil, and a little bit of soy sauce. Because those are the days where I just want a Lunchable, or we would literally go to 7-Eleven and pick up one of those pre-made sandwiches, whether it was like turkey or ham or tuna salad or whatever it was. Like, I just want to be like the other kids. I just want Lunchables or a sandwich with chips or something. But then my mom would randomly pack me fried rice because she wanted to show her love in that way. She wanted to make us food, have us strengthen and energize for the rest of school with food that she prepared for us. So I didn't really understand that message back then, but in elementary school, I feel like the kids get a little bit more mean, right? And they would just make very snarky comments and I didn't like it. So I stopped bringing fried rice to school unless it was Korean school on Saturdays, which everyone would eat my lunch because they liked it. So the last one is ramen, and I didn't pack ramen for lunch, although I did in college. I just packed those instant bowl noodles because it was the easiest thing, and by college I was like, I really just don't care, and I felt like Asian culture was more widely known, so it was okay for me to do that, but I just didn't care. I didn't care if it smelled, and it was just the easiest thing for me to throw in my lunchbox and take to school instead of prepping something. People would always ask me in high school, like, oh, do you eat Maruchan ramen? I'm like, I've never had a Maruchan ramen in my life because all we had at home was Korean ramen, like Shin ramen. But I was very sensitive to how my clothes smelled. So Grace and I had a lot of ramen growing up in high school because it was the easiest and quickest thing that we can make. Our jackets and jeans, like we don't wash those things often. So they would just be laying on the living room and then we would make ramen and then it would literally penetrate our clothing. So I was always very sensitive to how things smelled. We had a lot of Korean barbecue parties at our house, but every time my mom would have a lot of people over and she'd be cooking all day, I would remember running up to close my room door or pick up all my clothes and bring it to my room so that the clothes don't smell for school the next day or the next week. So I would say that at a certain point I stopped caring, but I think that recent popularity of Asian culture did help me and to not be ashamed of my culture. Felt like Asian food suddenly became super popular. Since I create content now, I see the difference in when I upload a content that is Asian foods versus American foods, like on TikTok or on YouTube. There's a huge difference. People are more interested in Asian foods overall. Remember in 2002 when it was the World Cup, my dad and I were watching, that's when I really got into soccer. I was really amazed how such a small country can place top 4 in the world. I think that shocked me. That's when I started to become very, very proud of being a Korean American. Back then it was okay for people to ask us, are you from the North or South? But when you ask that now, you just seem very ignorant. Even just like looking at that, I realize how far we have come. And it is thanks to Korean beauty, Korean movies, dramas, K-pop, all that helps and it really gets the name out. That's pretty much all I have for today, but if you guys can relate to me or have your own personal experiences, I would love to know it if you guys feel comfortable leaving it in the comments below. And thanks once again for tuning in and watching Angie's Table, and we'll see you guys on our next video.